This month marks 5 years since George Floyd was murdered by serving police officer Derek Chauvin. For many the world over, the ensuing shock and outrage gave us all pause, and it seemed like things were about to change for the better. George Floyd's murder is the reason I started this podcast, actually. It was overdue time to shake up the menopause space and represent voices that were yet to be heard by sharing the stories of people who look just like me. In that time, much has changed. Menopause is in the news. More people, those directly and indirectly affected, are taking notice and speaking up. Legislation has been passed, and I'm proud to have been part of this global movement. We are growing. But we have so far to go. Black women are still less likely to get the treatment they deserve, less likely, if they do opt for HRT, to get safer, up-to-date meds, and less likely to be given culturally competent care that truly listens. Racism didn't disappear with the black square or a few diversity hires. We still have work to do. Hello, and welcome to Menopause Whilst Black, episode 9, and the final episode of season 8. This podcast centres the experiences of Black people in any stage of menopause. I'm your founder host, Karen Arthur, a broadcaster, author, and artist. I'm drinking sipping some nettle tea, which apparently is good for bone health, but I'm drinking it because it's supposed to be good for hay fever. So cheers to that. And I'm back from almost a month in Barbados, visiting my family and hosting the second Joy Retreat. But more on that later. So season 8's come to an end. Oh, you just got me chatting today to me. No scintillating guests. But here's a roundup of some of my favourite moments. In episode 8, Celia talks about the many baffling symptoms that sent her to seek professional help.
Well, first of all, when I started having hot flushes, I thought it was because I was drinking coffee.
Okay.
So I thought the coffee is giving me hot flushes, or it's because I'm having too much sugar in my coffee. So I've got to reduce the sugar in my coffee. So I kept trying to figure out what it was. I had no idea it was because I was early 40s when it started. And then I had joint pains, so my finger joints and my feet would hurt. I'd get up in the morning, step on and my feet would hurt. But as the day went on, the pain would go down a little bit. Every morning I woke up with joint pains, especially my fingers and my feet. And then once in a while, out of nowhere, my knee would start to hurt. For no reason. I hadn't hurt it, I hadn't hit it, nothing had happened, it would just start hurting. And then I thought, oh, I've got arthritis. You know, I'm trying to find the reasons for all these symptoms and giving myself all these different diagnoses by myself. I've got arthritis. Then I was like, oh, maybe it's diabetes. Oh, maybe lots of different things. And then one day it clocked and I just said, I think I might be perimenopausal. But I wasn't sure,
Yeah.
I didn't know. I just thought maybe it might be that. But then I thought, well, I'm too young to be perimenopausal. I think I remember asking my mum, do you remember when you started menopause? And when you ask one of these ethnic mothers, it's like they never experienced menopause.
It's so easy to think that everything is menopause related, isn't it? But as we age and estrogen declines, it affects so many parts that it's difficult to argue against this. Get checked out, see a health professional. Please talk to someone. Going to the doctors can be scary. I remember listening to my very first season 1 episode guest, Pamela Windell, and her story years ago when she was diagnosed with chronic fatigue syndrome, or CFS. In episode 3 this time, she elaborates further.
I basically woke up one morning with a flu virus and never recovered for like 6 years later. And what we know about antibodies, we're talking about COVID and antibodies, that what was going on for me. So even though the NHS did some tests, all came back normal, didn't really understand why I was fatigued. And I was so ill that I couldn't really look after myself. And I look back now, I was actually disabled. I would say I was disabled because I feel tearful just to even say those words. That I couldn't look after myself. I couldn't, like, brushing my teeth. A basic thing. Doing that.
Things we take for granted.
Yeah, I didn't have the energy to brush my teeth twice a day. And once a day, making the bed, cooking was just a struggle. I used to cook in batches, and just remember cooking things that it just exhaust me. I had to go and sit down for like an hour and then go back and complete it. Changing your duvet, I'd have to do it in, different parts, and rest in between. And I was in a relationship then, and just even being, intimate with my partner was draining.
Yeah.
And I'd gone from, like you said, this person that was really fit, sociable, had lots of friends, to this person that literally walked around the flat, 500 steps in a day, and just lay down. And it was relentless. And, go back to the GP, and I ended up losing my job as a result of that, as you can imagine. But going to the GP, and the GP saying, well, you've got this thing which we called chronic fatigue syndrome, and the only way to actually determine that is that you have fatigue for 6 weeks. So you have fatigue for 6 weeks, and then they say you've now got chronic fatigue. We don't know how to get well. There you go and live with this symptom for the rest of your life. And then they also said, and by the way, you're likely to develop fibromyalgia as a result of that as well.
Pamela's story of determination is a testament to change and a hopeful journey. This is a woman whose personal research led her into her purpose as a women's health coach. She had to truly listen to her body. Cordelia's body, in episode 1, was sending her signals about her hip that she ignored for years until it said, if you can't hear, you must feel.
Actually, it was after London to Paris, because what had happened was, having done all the cycling, I was sitting in a way to compensate, because although it wasn't, what it started to do is the pain, I was actually sitting away from the pain.
Right.
And ordinarily, I did all sorts of things to compensate. I developed a limp and all sorts of things like that. And so what I was doing was sitting in the saddle, but I was sitting away, but putting all the pressure on my left side. So on the last day of the ride, I damaged my ulnar nerve, the nerve in my 2 fingers, and I couldn't hold the handlebar. The last day, I was kind of so then had to strap it to the handlebar. And at that point, I thought, Dee, I think you better do something about this hip because this is ridiculous, So the only solution was to have a hip replacement. And I was told, it took 8 years for me to get in my head to say, yes, I'm going to finally have this hip replacement. But when I finally did it, it was, life-changing. I thought, why didn't I do that before?
That last sentence, though. How many times have you finally made a decision on your health that made you think this? I don't know about you, but I am an overthinker, and it really slows me down at times. But as I age, I'm learning to just get on with it. Life is too short, and tomorrow isn't promised. This is your sign to do the thing. Menopause has been described as a time of reckoning, a time when you realise that what may have served you in the past is no longer cutting it. More people are reaching perimenopause and finding that lowered estrogen exacerbates ADHD symptoms that they may not have realised existed. In episode 2, Dr. Ayanna Gibbs, who is writing a book on Black women and ADHD, explains.
Attitude magazine, which is like a community support organization, did a big survey in the US, like about 5,000 women who were diagnosed with ADHD or reported ADHD. And, the biggest proportion of them, I think it was just over 40%, had been diagnosed or had got that diagnosis between 40 and 50.
Wow.
So in that perimenopausal stage. And there are probably a few contributing factors. I mean, the research is ongoing and still not fully there. But, certainly one is the fact that women in general have been less likely to be diagnosed with ADHD in childhood for various reasons. We think possibly ADHD looks a bit different in girls. Maybe they're more inattentive, less hyperactive. They're less problematic in terms of behavior, so they're less likely to get referred. So ADHD has been diagnosed like 2 to up to 16 times more frequently. This is in terms of the studies. In boys and men than in girls and women. But then when you actually look at adults, it's more like 1-to-1.
Celia Tox told me about the moment that led her to seek a diagnosis in episode 8.
What happened was I was doing some housework and the phone rang. So I quickly went into the living room. I was in the kitchen, cleaning up the kitchen, went into the living room, answered the phone, finished the phone call and went onto the laptop and started doing stuff on the laptop. And I was on the laptop for about 2 hours. And then decided that I was thirsty or I needed a snack or something. So I got up to go to the kitchen to get a snack and walked into this, what looked like a bomb site, because I had about 8 different tasks half done.
Yeah.
The dishwasher was open, half filled. Washing machine was open, half filled. The dining table was half wiped. The floor was half swept. The counter was half, everything was half done. And I looked at it, I was like, why are you doing this and acting like someone with ADHD? That's literally what I said to myself. And then the light bulb went off.
I mean, it's funny, as she's hilarious, but also it's not funny. If you're not sure what on earth is happening, as always, go to a health professional for advice. Erratic, irregular, and changing periods can be a surefire sign of entering perimenopause for many. In episode 7, Simpiwe, a sexual health nurse and founder of Black Nurses and Midwives, gave some sound advice on monitoring yours. So use this knowledge to seek further help.
It's important to diarize, especially symptoms, things like periods or what symptoms you're having. With menopause, we know that Black women experience different symptoms. They're not necessarily getting the classical, we always talk about hot flushes and, whereas we know that our menopause symptoms can be different. We're more likely to have things like pain in our joints, urinary symptoms sometimes. And I think sometimes it's listening to what that woman is telling you, about their symptoms and asking more questions. And it might seem like we're really being intrusive in your journey, but it's just to ascertain like what testing we may need to do. Sometimes we may ask you to diarize it yourself if you're not already doing that. And there's so many amazing apps, especially in terms of diarizing periods, diarizing menopause. There's so many amazing apps which can be your best friend.
A reminder, if you're enjoying this episode, why not hit like and subscribe? This will help us reach the ears that need to hear these words. And if you're new here, there are 81 episodes you can feast on. Self-care has become a huge topic over the years, as well it should, but it's not always easy or simple. Olympian Jennifer Stout shares some hope. Here's what she does when things seem to be getting on top of her.
The world, the society that we're living in right now has taken the ability away from us to have this inner strength. To actually make us understand that, what we want to draw on and how we see ourselves and the information that we put into our minds is basically just noises. Like, we are in control of that. Like, sometimes if I get moments where I feel that the world is too much, I will look for all my positive podcasts. I'll look for my motivational podcast, and I will literally just drink that stuff every day for as long as I can, 3 or 4 days. It's just in my headphones and I'm just listening, and I'm almost brainwashing myself into a feeling of abundance, because sometimes you just have to have that. You have to lock yourself away. You have to have the noise, whether it's music, whatever it may be, just to put you back onto that level of where you want to go. Because there's nothing wrong with, I always say, sitting on a park bench when everything's out of control and you literally can't do anything about it. Sometimes it's just good just to sit still.
You can't be on God's green internet for a minute without coming across a fitness guru aiming advice at menopausal humans. It's everywhere. Certainly every time I log on, it seems like there's a new challenge: press-ups, get-ups, squats. Listen, there's nothing wrong with that, as long as it doesn't make you feel inadequate or sad, which some of them can do. It should motivate you. Menopause is becoming big business, and trends that target vulnerability are not the one. Listen to Sam Core Trainer, who knows her stuff, in episode 6.
Not only are their hormones changing, and they feel like everything is out of control, but they're also experiencing a lot of mental and emotional changes because of those hormonal changes. So again, let's prey on those women who are not feeling like themselves, and even make them feel even shittier, and then tell them that you need to do this to lose weight, right? Because you're no longer sexy because you're old and all that other stuff. Yeah. So I really feel like the menopause space is very predatory. And everything now is menopause.
On fitness, I think the best advice is to choose something you love or have the potential to learn to love. That way you'll improve and want to do it consistently. Walk, dance, lift, stretch, swim, but always try to move. Your mind and your body will thank you sooner than you think. How easy has it been for you to chat to your work colleagues about your menopause? In episode 5, Terry Debatembe, who works in a male-dominated corporate finance environment, shares her experience.
Talking about it to my boss, just saying, look, every now and again, I'm going to get brain fog, right? Because I felt it. There was a day, I remember this one quite clearly, where I was supposed to be giving a presentation. And it was a presentation I'd given many times before. It's a quarterly update. All that was updated with the numbers. I could not remember anything, could not remember the numbers, could not remember, I'd put the slides together, but, everything was swimming. I was like, and I'm in this office and I'm thinking, oh, I'm so hot. And I'm saying to everybody, oh, I'm hot. And everyone's like, what are you talking about? I'm the only one. And I'm wearing, one of these silken blouses.
Yeah.
And my back is sticking to the chair. It was a mess, and you try and explain where all of this is coming from and how you're feeling. But, first it's either nobody really wants to talk about it. You say menopause and they all hide under the desk, or, so they're heading for the hills, or they're just like, okay. Take whatever you need type thing,
Yeah.
So I encourage people to have more of an awareness.
I'm seriously thinking of having a t-shirt made that says searching for protein or where's the protein across the front, because it's a constant. Unfortunately, the rise of menopause awareness is also leading to a rise in eating disorders amongst this age group. Diet is obviously important, but keep an eye out. In episode 6, Sam adds,
if it doesn't feel good, there's a reason for it.
Yeah.
It's probably because it's the wrong thing, but because we've been brainwashed for so long that we've got to kill ourselves, has to be hard, and we have to sweat blood and tears and all of this other stuff that, we figure if it's not hard and we're not killing ourselves, then it's not worth it. Yeah. And again, I'm talking more around diet culture. There's so much negativity around food. Like, people aren't even enjoying food anymore. It's like, oh, I can't eat that because that's this. It's like, but it's good. And it's good. Yeah.
In a sense, this leads me to pleasure. Enjoy yourself. What's the point of living if there isn't joy embedded in it? Well, that's exaggeration. But So, hear me out. Sexual health nurse Simpiwe encourages us to explore our own bodies and what we like. Older doesn't mean an absence of sexual pleasure. Far from it. Listen to this.
Women are definitely left behind, and this is why it's important that we're having these conversations and normalizing talking about the pleasure of women, because again, I think also we don't talk about the different stages of life and how that can impact our pleasure, because for instance, if you're just had children, for instance, and you're postpartum, you know your pleasure is greatly impacted in that postpartum phase.
Yeah.
And then if we think about later on in life, your perimenopause, and I think it's important that we talk about the different, but again, I guess stripping it back is also talking about what you like. People don't know what they're like. And
This
I
is
think
the
it's important to, one, examine your body, get to know your
Mm.
body, touch, feel again.
I love this. Joy is our birthright, and in a world that seems to be hell-bent on erasing us, black joy is a revolution. I spent a week in Barbados on our second retreat at the beginning of this month, as I said. For those of you who are just discovering this podcast, the Joy Retreat is the world's first retreat for black women in any stage of menopause. And it was glorious. Cordelia, who joined us on the inaugural trip in 2023, talks about her experience.
All of a sudden, literally, I think it was the second or third day, all of the things I'd learned over my relative recent past until that third day almost all came together in one in a stream of consciousness, I would say. So it was at that point where I thought, wow, this is what being in the company of black women can bring you. And yeah, it's strange because I think we may have had a therapist who'd come in. Mindful movement. No, that was the yoga teacher who was asking us,
Jasmine, yeah.
how the trip was going, and we were all saying, "Oh yeah, it's really good." And I sat down and said, "It's really lovely," and we're sitting here and sharing stuff. Oh! And I had this total wobble because it was almost like I felt we had our arms around each other, and that's what the Joy Retreat was creating.
I'll pop a link to an expression of interest for the Joy Retreat 2026. Follow at the Joy Retreat on Instagram or Menopause Whilst Black, also over there, for up-to-date information. And finally, I will leave you with words of encouragement and hope from Jennifer in episode 4.
If HRT works for you, knock yourself out, go on it. If it doesn't, you find your alternatives. You look at your health, you look at how you are, look at your gut, look at what makes you function, things that make you happy, things that make you step forward. And they're the things that you grab and you hold on to, and you make them be your sort of like your mentor, your physical step, your walking step, all that sort of thing.
Your menopause experience is so much more than your symptoms. It's a mind shift, and it's an opportunity to fine-tune your life to be the best version you can be. Grab it with both hands and remember that you're really not alone. This month marks 5 years since George Floyd was murdered by serving police officer Derek Chauvin. For many the world over, the ensuing shock and outrage gave us all pause, and it seemed like things were about to change for the better. George Floyd's murder is the reason I started this podcast, actually. It was overdue time to shake up the menopause space and represent voices that were yet to be heard by sharing the stories of people who look just like me. In that time, much has changed. Menopause is in the news. More people, those directly and indirectly affected, are taking notice and speaking up. Legislation has been passed, and I'm proud to have been part of this global movement. We are growing. But we have so far to go. Black women are still less likely to get the treatment they deserve, less likely, if they do opt for HRT, to get safer, up-to-date meds, and less likely to be given culturally competent care that truly listens. Racism didn't disappear with the black square or a few diversity hires. We still have work to do. So keep showing up and speaking up. Make your voice heard, and amplify those of others who aren't. Challenge your workplace and talk with your friends. Menopause education is important, but I will argue that anti-racism work is crucial to serve every person who needs it. Okay, I'll hop off my soapbox for now. Listen, enjoy your week, your day, your month, your evening. I'm off for a rest and a break. If you love this episode, don't forget to check out those mentioned. Like, share with your mates, and do us all a favour and write a gorgeous, gooey review on your chosen listening or watching platform. But most of all, look after you. Wear your SPF, drink your water, and be gentle with yourself, won't you? Okay, bye.